In the last few months, maybe years, I've been seeing a lot of people complaining that one of the main problems of the gaming industry is the obsession with realistic graphics. That the people nowadays only want games with realistic graphics, and people are ignoring that a game with simpler graphics are also cool. And people are also saying that this is killing games. The obsession with graphics, this is bad for the gaming industry. And there's a lot of videos on YouTube stating that this is not cool, that this is not going to be working out, and there's a lot of games with beautiful graphics and the games are empty. And this is a huge problem that is killing the gaming industry. This is not good. I'm gonna be real honest to you guys. I disagree with that. In my opinion, the problem of the gaming industry is not the obsession with realistic graphics. Of course, I agree that it's a bad idea to ignore a game just because it has simpler graphics, because there's a lot of games out there with simpler graphics that is also good. And there's a lot of times where the simpler graphics is actually on purpose. The aesthetics of the game is supposed to be match with the purpose of the game. It's also worth mentioning that choosing a certain aesthetic for a game is part of the experience that the developer wanted to convey. I also would say that there's a lot of games that if you put a realistic graphics in it, it would be messing up the game. So I agree that it's simply wrong to judge the quality of a game only by the graphics. But I'm gonna be real honest, you guys. I think that this is just obvious. And I think it's funny how people are repeating that out there. Everyone who played video games for a long time know that each game has its own experience. To me, this is something that it doesn't have to be spoken. If the game seeks to be realistic or not, it's an artistic choice of the developer. Whether the game is realistic or not, it has cel shading or not, each game has its own art style. But in my opinion, we have to separate things. Using that argument to say that the seek for advanced graphics is a bad thing, I think is simply wrong. This is not a problem on the industry. This is actually important. It's necessary to the advance of the industry. Let me explain what I'm trying to say in a better way. There are actually two ways to analyze realism in games. The first way to analyze realism in games is graphical realism, which means how the game looks, if the game looks like real life. And there is also mechanical realism, and this is how the game works, if the game works in a realistic way. And this is how the physics of the game works, and if the tire of the car leaves marks on the road, if your character gets tired when he's running too much. Scenario destruction. Mechanical realism is kind of complicated in games because you need to be careful, because there's a lot of things we do in real life that are simply not fun, but this depends on the purpose of the game, and realism has its own place, and of course it depends on the people taste. So we have the example of BNG, which in my opinion is not even a game, to be quite honest, but it's a very fun game because you can actually crash the cars and see what happens. Red Dead has a lot of realistic mechanics and it also have realistic graphics, but a lot of people get bored with this game. A lot of people just don't enjoy this slow rhythm of the game. I think that enjoy a game depends on the moment of your life, of course, but I'm gonna be real honest. What I'm trying to say is that all these things depends on the purpose of the game, and I think graphical realism is simply amazing. It's very, very cool when you have a new game with beautiful graphics, with realism, 4K, and it's simply amazing. That's the reason why we buy new consoles, isn't it? This is the reason why we play PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series, and let's be honest guys, every time you buy a new video game or maybe a new video card to the PC, you don't want to play the games you played before with the same graphics, or else you would be playing on PlayStation 4. There's no reason to buy a new console, to buy the new video game. The industry always seeks advanced graphics. This is not something new. It was not a problem before and it's not a problem now. If you go way back and see the PlayStation 3 era, the seek for advanced graphics was amazing, and I don't think that there was a problem with the industry. The industry was amazing. There was a lot of curiosity surrounding the new consoles and graphics and all these things, because it was cool to see graphics as we never seen before. The problem of the industry, in my opinion, is the actual state of the AAA games. There's a lot of people working on the industry that doesn't understand what makes a good game. people who don't understand how games works anymore. It's a bad game design, a bad written game, it's a bad progression. There's a lot of characters that was not well constructed. Sometimes even the graphics are bad. There's a lot of AAA games out there that's not a match to a game created like 10 years ago, which is very weird in my opinion. And sometimes the industry can deliver a game with a very good graphics, but they forget a games that gets you engaged in that game. They deliver a game with a very beautiful cover, but the game has no soul. And sometimes they don't even deliver the graphics. The AAA industry are delivering the worst experience ever in the industry. Don't you think that is crazy that a lot of games are like losing for games created like 10 years ago? I understand that games maybe are evolving slower, but sometimes what I see in the industry is regression. Every time you put a modern game with a game created 10 years ago, you put those games side by side, most of the games created like 1 year ago is worse than a game created 10 years ago, which is crazy. It doesn't make no sense. I think this is one of the reasons why people are avoiding AAA games, and some people are seeking for indie games or older games because the AAA industry is not good. There's something wrong with the AAA industry, and I don't think that it's the seek for advanced graphics. I even think that the gaming industry are making games with a huge budget. I think the industry should be creating smaller games like it was created like 10 years ago, because people don't know what to do with gaming budget anymore. At least that's my impression. There's a lot of games that are actually good, and sometimes it feels like they are too much expensive, like the Spider-Man of the PS5. The game costs 300 millions to be made, much more expensive than the first game. And this is kinda weird in my opinion, because they already had the base to create the second game. I don't understand why it got so expensive. I saw someone saying that one of the problems of the industry is that the gaming engines made games easier to create. In the old days, devs needed to seek for solutions to get around the limitations of hardware, and this would be making them challenge themselves, and they would be knowing better the tools they were working. Nowadays, you don't need that anymore. You don't need to optimize the game because the hardware can actually run the game with no problem. Of course, this is good, but at the other side, people are not challenging themselves anymore, so I think this might be a problem. What I'm trying to say is that realistic graphics are not the problem of the gaming industry. They are actually the solution if you know how to deal with them. But the AAA industry is supposed to seek advanced graphics. The AAA need to be good at everything. They need to push the industry forward. They need to defy the limits of the video games, because at the end of the day, they are very expensive. But this is just my opinion, guys. I'd like to know what you guys have to say about it. Leave a comment in the section down below. And that's all, guys, and bye.